Hey everybody, John Mark here. Welcome to Mark My Words. In this video, I'm going to outline for you 10, actually 11, benefits that the winning right, more broadly and more specifically the propertarian movement, are bringing to the grassroots right wing and to Western civilization. Now, what you're going to see is something I recorded previously where I'm introducing my new show that I'm going to be starting, the Reset America show. But I realized afterward, listening back to it, that what I was actually doing is outlining a lot of the benefits that our movement is bringing to the grassroots right wing and to Western civilization that we desperately, desperately need. So without further ado, let's get into it. I just wanted to give you that little intro. Here's my introduction to my new show, the Reset America show, and you will learn 10 or 11 benefits that we are bringing to the grassroots right wing and why you need to be a part of this, because we are doing the most important work that is being done right now in the grassroots right wing. There's a lot of great people doing a lot of great things, obviously, but we are building a foundation to where we can actually fix this problem permanently, or as close to permanently as one could ask for. Without further ado, here it is. Hey everybody, John Mark here. Welcome to Mark My Words. I am going to be starting a new show. It's going to start airing every other week. It's a little bit different format for me. I'm calling it the Reset America show. I'd love to call it the Reset America and Reset the West show, but that's not quite as short because it's not just America. We'd like to reset all of Western civilization. If you haven't watched my video, How to Reset America, I will put the link in the top comment. On the Reset America show, I'm going to have a panel. I call it the Propertarian panel, although they don't all have to be Propertarians, and we may have guests as well. I've got some great friends in the Propertarian community, some really, really top-notch men with great insights. We are attracting the best quality men, from working-class guys to really highly intellectual guys, military guys, business guys. The caliber of people, and some great women too, by the way, especially recently, and some who have been with us for a while. But the caliber of people that are joining what you would call the winning right in general and the propertarian movement in specific is off the charts. So I'm going to have 3 or 4 people with me on every one of these shows, and I'm going to just be teeing them up with questions, insights, kind of orchestrating the conversation. It's going to be a little bit longer format. We might go like a couple hours, but you are not going to want to miss it because there's so much to talk about. There's so much for people to learn. And this, I think, will actually be a more efficient format for people to learn than me putting out 4 or 5 separate videos. And I'll still put out other videos as well. But every couple of weeks, we'll have kind of a rotating panel. People rotate in and out on the panel depending on the topic, depending on who's available. You're going to get some tremendous insights and great explanatory power. That's one of the things that first strikes people when they come across propertarianism is, man, the explanatory power of this is just immense. It's deeper than anything else I've come across. It puts everything together and ties a nice little bow on it. The grassroots right wing needs to understand what it is that Western civilization does that works so well. We need to understand it scientifically so we can defend it and make sure it doesn't get undermined, because right now it's been being undermined tremendously. And we feel it in our bones, but many times we don't actually understand how to explain what's going on. We need to be able to explain this so we can put it in our law and literally outlaw any violation of Western civilization's success strategy. That's what propertarian law does. And in order to do that, you have to outline Western civilization's strategy in detail, in scientific detail, which propertarianism does. Thank you, Kurt Doolittle, the founder of propertarianism. We're going to talk about how we can advance the West strategy. We're going to talk about practical, workable solutions that people can get behind. We don't just talk about problems. We talk about solutions. We're going to take the grassroots right wing from instinct to science. That's what I was just talking about. What Western people do, they do by instinct largely. What the grassroots right wing does, we've done by instinct. And that's just not good enough anymore. Because if we're just doing it by instinct and then we just kind of assume other people can learn it, or maybe they're like us and they'll do the same things as we do by instinct, they don't. Truth before face versus face before truth is one of the classic examples of that. So how do we put truth before face into law? Because if we don't put it into law, you get what we're seeing in America right now, where people get fired from their jobs for saying the most scientifically basic facts. So we can't just have this instinct thing where we're just like floundering along by instinct anymore. We've got to understand scientifically what the heck we did that made us so fantastically successful and dragged the world out of ignorance, poverty, and disease, and we need to write it down and put it in our law and make it illegal to do anything else. And when I say that, I mean there's tremendous freedom in this. All we're going to be outlawing is lying, cheating, and stealing, corruption, parasitism. That's what it comes down to. Another great insight of propertarianism is, and you'll get the gist of this as you absorb several of these shows, law is actually more important than your form of government. Now, your form of government is important because if you have too many loopholes for corruption to enter, you got a big problem, which is one of the big problems we have now. So we know how to close those loopholes. But really the most important thing is law. Everything has to be subject to natural law of reciprocity. Everything and everyone. The secret of a first world civilization is good rule of law, not like a democracy and giving everyone a say in all of this, silly stuff that people hear. Giving the bum on the street that doesn't even know like where China is on a map a say is like somehow supposedly the secret to civilizational success. Give me a break. The secret to civilizational success is punish the bad. Punish violations of natural law. Bam. From losing to winning. The grassroots right wing in America has lost for a long time. A lot of that is just immigration. A lot of that is giving women a lot of power and a lot of say, because women are very different than men, in case you haven't noticed, both politically and not just in their bodies. And the system was just not strong enough to withstand it. We know how to win. We know what we have to do. And we have to explain that to the people so they understand. Because here's the thing, folks. If we let's say we throw the bums out, right? Okay, great. Golf clap. Now what? If you just implement the same weak system, or system that's too weak, has a lot of good features, but if you implement the same thing, you're going to end up with the same problem not long afterwards. You're going to be undermined again. We can't do that. Enough. I mean, this battle we're seeing in America right now, roughly between right and left, it is an age-old battle. This has been happening for thousands of years. It's always the same thing. It manifests in slightly different ways, slightly different times, but it's always the same basic thing. We understand this scientifically now. We understand why it happens, and we know how to shut it down. And if you pay attention to us, you will learn how to shut it down, and you will stop being a useful idiot, and you will be a useful warrior for Western civilization and for the well-being of our descendants. We're going to talk about how we can turn this thing from the decline we're seeing of our civilization. Like every great civilization in the past has experienced decline. It's almost always for the same reasons, which is the civilization cannot get the parasites off its back. Anything that's successful always attracts parasites. That's exactly what we're seeing in America and the West. How do you get rid of the parasites? None of these previous civilizations, as I said on the Alex Jones show a while back, have been able to get the parasites off their back, have been able to come up with a system that is robust enough to defend effectively against parasites. The United States of America is the first civilization in history, as far as I can tell, that actually has a very good chance to do this, to get the parasites off our back. Because the grassroots right wing has the great majority of the guns, and 2/3 of the military voted Trump. Other things we're going to talk about on the Reset America show, from persuasion to separation. We got to stop thinking that we're going to be able to persuade the left. Now, I think there's some evidence starting to come forth that some of the normies and like you're kind of like just normal liberal folks that don't pay that much attention and just want to be nice and, oh yeah, the non-white people were oppressed and, just all these normie narratives or whatever. I think there's some significant evidence starting to come forth that they're starting to wake up because of this situation. The data shows they're much more anti-immigration than before, at least in terms of temporary immigration's halting. So I'm not saying persuasion is completely useless, but we can't be under the impression that we can convince the left to want to live like us. They will never do that. If they learn a lesson from this in the short term, they will forget it before long. And they'll go back to their old ways. So we have to move from persuasion to separation. We have to separate from the left or we have to defeat them. That's it. You can't persuade people who are, and we understand scientifically why they're so different from us now. We're going to move from monopoly to markets. This whole monopoly democracy where 330 million people are living under one set of rules is ridiculous. Every single state in America is the size of a European country. We know scientifically and historically that the smaller nations, smaller groups are much happier because there's much lower power distance. The people are much happier in that situation. It's much easier to maintain peace. And so when I say markets, I'm not just talking about like the free market economically. I'm also talking about a political market where you can have competition between smaller polities. That's a huge key to success. From trying as the grassroots right wing to achieving, from frustration to fulfillment. Because once you know what to do, it's just a matter of doing it. And the grassroots right wing has the power to do basically whatever they want. Because who's going to stop them? Who's the enforcement arm that the elites and the left can count on to really do what they would want to do to us? The answer is nobody. And, we're going to go from frustration to fulfillment because the grassroots right wing has the power to do it. And now the grassroots right wing is learning what must be done. The dissident right for a while has known the basics of what must be done, but most of the dissident right has not really talked much about how do we build a better system other than the absolutely correct point of we cannot let ourselves be invaded through immigration by third world people groups that do not instinctively do what white people of Western European descent do and how they live and what their attitudes are and what their instincts are. Yeah, so that's absolutely correct. I mean, you stop that dynamic, you've fixed a huge portion of your problem. But if you don't fix the system, and if you don't fix your rule of law in the way that propertarianism outlines or something very close to it, you leave yourself and your descendants open to undermining again and again and again and again. Because we know our enemy now. We understand the left. We understand why they are the way they are. They will not stop until and unless you build a system that crushes them before they even get their foot in the door at all. And that's what propertarianism does. So watch the videos in the top comment of this video that I'll put the links if you haven't watched them already. Civil War II in America, who would win? 1.7 million views. You have to watch that video. How to crush the left once and for all. You have to watch that video that outlines the propertarian program, the basics of it. How to reset America. Share that one with everybody, even left-leaning people, centrist people. It's a very reasonable appeal. Listen, we can do certain things, reset the American system, and everybody will be much happier. And if we don't, guess what's going to happen? There will be a war, and the left will lose. That's the reality, folks. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. Love you all. Till next time.